Happy Sunday morning wherever you are in the world. Now, the good thing about Sundays is that they follow Saturday nights. And if you're a combat sports fan, then Saturday nights is when all the big fights go down. And yesterday, well, we had a treat. We had Anothony Joshua returning to the ring against Robert Helenius. We also had Conor McGregor jumping in the ring, calling out all kinds of people and, being a little bit controversial as always. And of course, in UFC action, we had the return of Rafael dos Anjos going up against Vicente Luque in the main event at the Apex. Now I'm going to go through all of the action and give you my thoughts on the situation. First of all, Anothony Joshua triumphant once again going up against Robert Helenius. Now, of course, Anothony Joshua came back in April this year and he was victorious against Jermaine Franklin. But returning this weekend, he was supposed to take on Dillian White, who of course tested positive. So in steps Robert Helenius on under a week's notice. So a lot of pressure because Anothony Joshua once was the face of heavyweight boxing. And now, of course, after losing those two fights to Alexander Usyk, getting knocked out against Andy Ruiz, well, listen, the man's starting to have a bit of a fall from grace. So a lot of pressure coming into this one. And that is why I understand the tactics of Anothony Joshua earlier. It was kind of a cagey performance. He was taking his time. He was making reads. The reality is he was playing it smart. He looked more athletic. He looked better. Of course, Helenius took the fight at short notice. Very, very big man, large power. So, of course, Joshua's got to be careful. But Joshua was the faster guy. When he let the hands go, he looked very, very dangerous. But you could say that he was timid or you could say that he was calculated. Both words may apply. I would rather say that he was calculated. He wasn't taking too many chances. But when the time came, my word, what a knockout. And that was exactly the finish that Anothony Joshua needed. Round 7, listen, I think he won every single round, but they weren't anything to get excited about. The crowd was starting to boo and things like that, but still, in round 7, boom to the body, jab to the head, woof, thunderous right hand straight down the pipe. Boom! Helenius hits the deck out cold. Absolutely unconscious, knocked him out cold and saved his career in terms of the big, big fights that may be available to him. The massive paydays, of course, the fights with Tyson Fury.
AJ can't box.
Maybe a rematch with Usyk, but more importantly, the fight with Deontay Wilder, which is going to happen next. Can't wait for the Deontay Wilder fight. We'll talk more about that when the time comes. Now, of course, Conor McGregor was in attendance. He arrived like a rock star, of course, always does, always loud and proud and making noise, carrying his whiskey, promoting the stout that he's got going right now. And as soon as Anothony Joshua knocked out Helenius, McGregor runs over, he grabs all of him, sticks a pint down his neck, and Joshua obliged, obviously. Are you intoxicated? And that was great, you know what I mean? After my fights, I wanted to have a beer as fast as possible. But of course, McGregor, being the very recognizable face that he is, had a lot of cameras on him. Throughout the Anothony Joshua fight, the man was invested. I'm telling you, he was there ringside. He was shadow boxing. He was trying to coach him. He was in the moment, shall we say. Speaking to Gareth A. Davies, he was there. He was talking to him, and he said, "Listen, here's what I want next. Okay, I want Michael Chandler in December." In December, less than 6 months away, he wants Michael Chandler. Then he wants Justin Gaethje for the BMF, and then he wants Nate Diaz in the trilogy.
When are you coming back?
December.
And who are you fighting?
Chandler.
You are going to do it?
I have to.
You've been teasing him?
I'm going to just do that with him, yeah. I'm going to grab him by the chest and grab him. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. Chandler next, December, and then Gaethje BMF, and then we'll do Nate trilogy.
Now, that would be 3 tremendous fights back to back to back for Conor McGregor, okay? Will they happen? I don't know. Because then he jumps in the ring and he's having a little interview with the MC, and he says, "I want KSI." He calls out KSI, said, "This man couldn't box an egg, even if he worked in an egg boxing factory." Something like that. Roll the tape, John.
And I know your man KSI is in the crowd, yeah? And he couldn't box eggs if he worked in an egg boxing factory. So if he wants to get in here, I'll give him a final, bare knuckle if you want.
So there it is. He calls out KSI. Now, I'm not quite sure why he's calling out KSI. Do you know what I mean? As he just said, Chandler is a great fight. It's a dangerous fight. Justin Gaethje is an incredibly dangerous fight and a legitimate fight and a respectable person to be calling out. And yeah, the Nate Diaz trilogy, that's always going to be there and it's always going to sell very well. So why is he getting on the microphone and calling out KSI? Listen, Listen, I'm a fan of the man as a fighter. He's still one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. It's as simple as that. But don't be wasting your breath on KSI. No offense to KSI. KSI is great. He's doing his thing. He's boxing Tommy Fury. I don't know why he's lowering himself to calling out a YouTuber, but whatever. We're not here to talk about that. Well done to Anothony Joshua. That right hand was absolutely sensational. Okay, and it reminded the world and reminded the heavyweight division what this man is capable of. There's a lot of people that were kind of writing him off. His record is 26-3. That's not a bad record. Only knocked out once against Andy Ruiz, and of course those 2 losses by decision to Alexander Usyk. But of course, those 2 losses, one happened in 21, one happened in 22. The one to Andy Ruiz happened in 2019. So people start to formulate a pattern, start to think you're beginning to come to the end of your career. But that right hand, that knockout, and granted, Helenius, tough guy, good guy, not one of the true elites, but still, right? The knockout power is for real, and I can't wait to see him and Deontay Wilder. Now, all that aside, over on the other channel, ESPN, we had some proper fights going down. We had Vicente Luque and Rafael dos Anjos going at it in the main event. Went to a decision. Vicente Luque got the job done. Listen, I just want to give a special shout out to Rafael dos Anjos. This man is an absolute legend. He's been around the fight game forever. Of course, a former champion, 32-15 now. Lost to Vicente Luque. Before that, he beat Bryan Barberena. He tried to engage in a wrestling match, and he was ultimately out-hustled against Luque. On the feet, I thought Dos Anjos looked good. He's still very sharp. I used to train with him a long time ago with Jason Perillo. High-level grappling, a former champion, as I said, at lightweight. Almost became the champion at welterweight as well. But tonight, you know, couldn't get the job done against Luque. No shame. Competitive fight, back and forth. I think it was clear that Luque got the job done because of the takedowns and probably some of the bigger shots. But as I say, well done to Vicente Luque. But I've got to give a special shout out to Rafael dos Anjos. I'm just looking at his record right here. If you go through some of his record, listen to this for back-to-back wins or fights, not wins. Fights, pardon me. Donald Cerrone, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Benson Henderson, Nate Diaz, Anthony Pettis, Donald Cerrone, Eddie Alvarez, Tony Ferguson, Neil Magny, Robbie Lawler, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Lee, Leon Edwards, Michael Chiesa, Paul Felder, Renato Moicano, Rafael Fiziev, Bryan Barberena, and Vicente Luque. That is a ridiculous schedule. I mean, that is a who's who of mixed martial arts throughout the lightweight and the welterweight division. So that man deserves some respect. As I say, though, the night belonged to Vicente Luque. Congrats to him, and I look forward to seeing him back in action. Now, co-main event, Cub Swanson versus Hakeem Dawodu. Very explosive fight. Very, very entertaining. I would have loved to have been there live, but I'm sitting on the couch with a beer in my hand, cheering him on. Cub Swanson's a good friend and a business partner. We have a UFC gym in Costa Mesa that we're partners in, so well done to Cub. Now, it was a close fight, right? Both men landed a lot of big shots. Swanson early was using his typical explosive movements, lunging in, boom, beautiful right hands, landing some good shots. But Dawodu is a very, very good kickboxer as well. Both of them putting together some nice combinations. Cub surprised him with a takedown late in round 3. You never know, that might have cinched the deal because it was a close fight, and it was so close that even after the fight, Cub Swanson was surprised that he was named as the winner. And I gotta say, you gotta say it all class about Cub Swanson. It takes a certain man to stand there and say, you know what? I wasn't sure. I thought the other guy won, to be honest. The only time I can remember that is when I fought Chael Sonnen. When I fought Chael P. Sonnen, the original bad guy from Wesleyan, Oregon in Chicago. UFC on Fox 2, I believe it was, 2012, January, or was it February? Who cares on the month? We had a back and forth fight. It was very, very close. It wasn't a robbery. It could have gone either way. I was standing there in the ring and I said to him, what do you think, Chael? Who got it? He goes, you know what? I think you got it. Fair play. I got to say, I respected Chael Sonnen so much for that kind of honesty. But it was a fun night of fights at the Apex. Cub Swanson, well done to him. Khalil Roundtree Jr. got back to winning ways, knocking out Chris Dawkins with a devastating right hand at 2 minutes 40 in the first round. Khalil Roundtree, I mean, he's some man. He's had quite the career. He really has. Obviously, he just knocked out his opponent there. He beat Dustin Jacoby last time out in a controversial split decision. Beat Carl Robertson and beat Modestas Pakauskas. Khalil Roundtree Jr. getting the job done once again. 4 wins in a row now, and 3 of those 4 came by the way of stoppage. So well done to Khalil Roundtree Jr. And what a night of fights. As I say, as a combat sports fan, it was a really good day. Well done to Anothony Joshua, him versus Deontay Wilder. I would love to see that in the future, and we are going to see that from all the signs, what everyone's saying. I want to see him against Tyson Fury, though. I really do. I'm kind of interested in Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou, of course, because it's got that X factor, it's got that crossover appeal. But I do want to see Tyson versus AJ. I want to see Tyson versus Usyk. I want to see Tyson Fury in there with some of the best boxers on the planet. But fair play, that's going to be an entertaining show. Saudi Arabia, can't wait for that one. Conor McGregor versus KSI in bare knuckle. What do you think he's doing there? Do you think he's just trying to create a bit of controversy? Do you think he actually wants to fight him? Or do you think he was just in the moment, just having a bit of fun? Who knows? Maybe just having a laugh. He's had a few whiskeys, he's enjoying himself, he's at the fights, he sees KSI, he's like, oh, dickhead, come on, let's step in the cage. Let's do it in bare knuckle. But him calling out Chandler in December, I want to see it. Justin Gaethje, I want to see it. And who was the third one? Nate Diaz. We want to see it. A lot of options for Conor McGregor, as always. Anyway, that was my Saturday night, guys. Hope you're well. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you liked the video. And if you did, please subscribe and like. And I will see you soon, because I'm doing a live at 12 o'clock today, California time. I'll be live answering your questions. So if you see this video in time, come along and join the fun. You guys take care.